Hello and welcome to Alasdair Aquatics. Just a quick note before we begin, you might have noticed that Takashi, my fighting fish, isn't in this tank anymore. I've actually moved the rice fish and shrimp over into it. Quite a sad note really. Unfortunately, there might have been an issue with the heater and my fighting fish Takashi is no longer with us. Okay, so quite a sad note, but I thought I'd move these fish into this tank to make the best use of this new aquascape, and I will be getting a new fighting fish, and you'll see me setting up a new tank for that in the future. Okay, so just a quick note and quite a sad one, but anyway, let's get on with the video. Okay, so let's talk about the clownfish setup behind me. So the tank is a Fluval Evo saltwater aquarium. It holds 52 litres or 13.5 gallons for you guys in the US. And as you can see, I've made a few changes. Now, the most obvious change you'll see is that it doesn't have the lid. Okay, so this tank out the box comes with a black plastic lid with a built-in light. I decided I wanted to add my own light to the tank. So the light I've got above this system is a Kessil A80 light, and what I've done with the help of a friend, huge shout out to my friend David, he managed to laser cut me some plastic to basically have my own DIY lid to stop the fish jumping out and stop some evaporation. Moving on to the filtration. Now the filter media that you get supplied with this tank, you get supplied with a sponge that holds some biomedia and some carbon. Now what I've decided to do is replace the media that it comes with, and I've used some acrylic media baskets that are made by a company called In Tank. So I've added my own media, I've added a few more bits of biomedia, and I have some rotifos and more carbon in case any sort of issues arise with water quality or algae issues. So that's a change I've made to the filtration. I just thought that I'd give it a go. I'd watched a lot of reviews on them out there and thought it was something I should try. Now, the tank comes supplied with a twin outlet, and the nozzles attached to this outlet are just sort of generic duckbill outlets to release water into the tank. I actually got an email from Darren from dflowdesigns, and he was kind enough to send me his range of products for the Fluval Evo. Now his company specialises in 3D printed random flow generating nozzles, and he also has a flow director for the filter chamber. So a huge shout out to Darren, thank you very much. If you guys are interested at all in dflowdesigns, be sure to look in the comments, there's a link to that website down below, and we'll have to take a closer look at the random flow generators later, but they seem to be working absolutely fantastically. Okay, so Darren at dflowdesigns has been kind enough to offer you guys, my viewers, a discount code for a limited time only. If you use the discount code Alasdair15, you will get 15% off of your order. Now, if you're interested in seeing a closer look at some of these products, be sure to stick around to the end of the video where I'll give you guys a quick closer look. So we'll take a closer look at the tank in a minute, but the reason I wanted to add a random flow generating nozzle, or two in this case, to the tank is because I wanted some random flow in there. So in the past, to add extra flow to an aquarium, you might add things like a wave maker, or to add a bit of a change in direction of flow, you might add a wave maker. What I decided to do is add these random flow generators. So before, in the past, when I've had corals, especially soft corals and things like that, you'll see them blowing in one direction. And what a random flow generator nozzle does is, rather than push all the water out in a sort of straight one direction, it'll sort of randomly point out the flow in different directions. What this means is your corals will be moving back and forth, and in my opinion, that's a bit of a more natural situation that I think hopefully can replicate the wild just that little bit more. And I like the actual view of seeing corals sort of waving back and forth, which is something that can be achieved using random flow generating nozzles. Now, the reason you didn't actually see the setup of this tank is because, in my opinion, it was just a little bit boring. All I did was get some Marco dry rock, okay, that's the rock that's in this tank, give it a rinse out, put it in how I liked it, you know, in this arrangement, and then I added my dry aragonite Red Sea sand to the tank, and of course I had to really thoroughly wash that sand out, and it just wasn't something that I thought you guys would be super interested in, you know, just me washing sand and putting it in a tank. So that's what I did to set this tank up. I then went about for weeks cycling the tank. So what I did is I added in a source of ammonia, so I added in a small bottle of, I think it's ammonium chloride, I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, but a small bottle of ammonia and a bottle of live bacteria. So the idea behind that is you're adding in some ammonia, you're adding in some live bacteria. Adding in the live bacteria is almost like a boost to kind of get the cycle going just a bit faster than it would normally happen. So these bacteria would slowly build up your tank anyway, but adding in some live bacteria can help speed up that process. So what I ended up doing is sort of every day, sometimes twice a day I think, testing the water quality. Over time, you know, the ammonia started off high, the ammonia started to dip down, we saw some nitrites being built up, okay, so there was a type of beneficial bacteria that was colonizing the sand, the filter media, the rock, and it was breaking down that ammonia into nitrite. And then over the course of maybe another week or maybe 2 weeks, we saw a build-up very slowly of nitrate as well. So there's another type of beneficial bacteria that will break down nitrite into nitrate. And at the point where your tank is at 0 ammonia, 0 nitrite, and you know, a decent reading, maybe of around 20 nitrate, you can tell that the tank's roughly cycled. Now, what you can do is then dose some more ammonia and see how quickly the bacteria in your tank break that down, okay? So your fish, when you eventually do add them, will be producing ammonia. And what you want is a nice stable colony of bacteria in your tank to break that down, so to the point where you have no ammonia or nitrite in your water, just a bit of nitrate, which can be removed through macroalgae or water changes, and I think there's a few other options as well. So when the tank was finally cycled, I was very thankful. I'd been sat staring at an empty tank for quite a while, and I was starting to lose my mind just a little bit. But as I'm sure all you guys out there who are seriously into fish keeping, you understand that this is such a crucial part of setting up a new tank. You know, you can't just throw fish in straight away. Nowadays, we do try to you know, get the tank cycled and establish a good colony of bacteria, so we're not putting our fish in any undue stress or any undue danger. Now, the clownfish I went with are tank-bred Alasdair clownfish. So I got a black and white one and an orange one. Now, I went for the orange one just because he's missing almost all of that middle stripe. Just thought it looked a bit different, and I thought, why not? So these guys, when I first added them in, I can definitely tell the black Alasdair is going to be the dominant one, really putting the orange one in its place. You know, sort of chasing them, especially when feeding time would happen. Over the course of the last sort of week or so, they've definitely started to calm down. I wouldn't say they're 100% paired up yet, but there's no ripped fins, and I'm keeping a very, very close eye on it, as I'm sure if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I have had issues with clownfish in the past being aggressive. But so far, no ripped fins, I'm keeping an eye on them, and everyone seems to be behaving pretty well. The black clownfish just likes to occasionally chase the orange one, especially during feeding time. Like I said, guys, it's really a dominant display, a display of dominance. So with clownfish, they are all born male. Okay, so if you buy some small clownfish that they kept in a tank full of other clownfish, they will most likely be males. And what you will find is the most dominant one will start to grow bigger and will morph into a female. Okay, so pretty interesting stuff, pretty crazy actually when I first heard that. So the idea with the pair of clownfish is one of them is going to be a bit bigger than the other. It's going to be the female, a bit more dominant, and the smaller one is going to be the male. So it's actually a really interesting phenomenon. In the wild, usually in an anemone, you know, a whole group of clownfish of you know, maybe 10 or so, maybe more, will live together, and out of that 10, there will be one dominant female, one dominant male, and the rest will stay as these sort of sub-dominant males. And you know, there's sort of this hierarchy they set up. It's really interesting, so be sure to look into it if that's something you guys are interested in. So during the cycling stage of this fish tank, I decided to keep the lights off. Okay, I've done a lot of research. I have had algae problems with saltwater aquariums in the past. I decided to keep the lights off. Even now, I'm only putting them on to view the fish, you know, just turn them on for you guys to see. This room does get quite a fair bit of daylight at the moment, as we haven't got round to putting up any curtains yet, which is something that's on the list to do. So we are starting to get a little bit of a diatom bloom. Okay, that's been going on for a couple of weeks now, and it hasn't been too bad, hasn't gotten out of hand or anything crazy, and we haven't had you know, any other sort of pest algae building up, just because I've been keeping the lights off and really keeping an eye on that, because that's not something that I want to run into. It's a kind of issue that if you can prevent it, you definitely should. Okay guys, what we'll do now is I will pick the camera up and we'll take a closer look at what's going on in the tank, the fish and the equipment, and sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so here's the situation I've got on the lid currently. Like I said, huge shout out to my friend David for helping me put this together. This sort of laser cut lid fits really well, and the light is a Kessel A80, which provides a really nice shimmer effect. Here's a closer look at the clownfish. Like I said, you can see there the black clownfish chasing the orange one. It's almost like every time I come close to the tank, he sort of pesters the orange one a bit. But as you can see, the orange one is doing fine. You know, there's no ripped fins or anything like that. In here, you can see the in-tank media basket, which I'm using. You can't see it very well, but trust me, it is in there. I've got it in chamber 1 and one in chamber 2 as well. Then in that third chamber right at the back, I've just got my heater and stock return pump. So here we can see the random flow generating nozzles that were sent over by Darren from dflowdesigns. So huge thank you for that, Darren. And they are doing a fantastic job. Now, if you keep an eye on the surface of the water, you will see that the flow seems to start and stop. And this is exactly the thing you want to see from a random flow generating nozzle. You know, the whole point is that they're going to be putting out flow at different sort of speeds and slightly different directions to provide a more sort of natural flow pattern in your aquarium. And as you can see, the clownfish love surfing in the flow. Okay guys, so I don't know if you can see it in this lighting. Let me just change the colour of the light. There we go. I don't know if you can see this sort of diatom bloom that's been going on for a little while now. It's on this rock as well. Just those brown spots. What this is it's a normal stage when you first set up a marine tank. It is diatoms using up any silicates, things like that, released by the rock and sand in a new setup. So it's called, you know, the ugly phase. What we should then see next is some algae start to come in, you know, some green hair algae. Now, I think the reason why this has been kept at bay in this tank so long is just due to the fact that I've been keeping the lights off. You know, so for the first month or so this tank's been up and running, I haven't had any lights on at all. Now, I went with sand with this aquarium. I just went with a thin layer, decided to keep it under 1 inch. I actually ended up taking out some of the sand just because I thought it was actually a bit too deep and you can get build-up of gases in the sand, so I didn't want that. But it just sort of provides a much more natural look, in my opinion, than bare bottom. And if I were to get anything like an Asarius snail or anything like that, it gives them, you know, the perfect sand substrate that they need, really. So I'm really loving this aquarium. As you can see, I've made quite a lot of sort of customizations to this tank. But you know, it's definitely something that if you're a beginner into salt water, I'd highly recommend this tank. And you know, even upgrading certain things is not necessarily super difficult, but it's something that maybe you should take your time to research and look into it before you go for it. Now, in terms of stocking fish in this tank, I'm actually done. I'm just having a pair of clownfish in this tank. I'm going to also have some coral. I've thought about an anemone. Like I said, please hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys think I should go for in terms of anemones and coral, because I'm not too sure. The other thing I'm thinking of possibly adding a bit further down the line is possibly a fire shrimp or a cleaner shrimp. You know, I've had these guys in the past and I just think they're really cool, really interesting to watch. So like I said, let me know what you guys think. And just to take a quick look underneath the tank, it's a bit of a mess, but as you can see, we've got my RO water, my salt water, a whole load of test kits, some food, and other bits and bobs really. It's quite nice to have a stand which has a cabinet like this, just gives you a nice place to store stuff that's, you know, otherwise out of sight. So here's a few more products that Darren at dflowdesigns was kind enough to send me. So he's got a flow director for the filter chamber and a 1/2 inch random flow nozzle with some lock line attached. What he said to me is that the 1/2 inch random flow nozzle works better with an upgraded pump, and if you're using the stock pump, it's better to go with the smaller 1/4 inch random flow generators with that twin outlet that comes stock with the Fluval Evo. dflowdesigns also stock a variety of other random flow generating nozzles for a whole variety of uses and other tanks, so be sure to check them out if that's something you're interested in.